Faith-based story. The Cost of Compassion, a tale of indulgence and accountability. In the bustling metropolis of Haven Ridge, there lived a wealthy businessman named Richard Montgomery. He was known for his charm, charisma, and impressive philanthropic gestures, which often masked a darker side of indulgence without accountability. Richard had amassed great wealth through his successful tech company, and the city was in awe of his lavish lifestyle and generous donations. One of his most notable contributions was the construction of the Haven Ridge Community Center, an opulent building that promised to uplift the neighborhood. It was, indeed, a grand gesture, and many believed that it would be the catalyst for positive change in their community. However, as time passed, it became evident that Richard's actions were motivated more by self-indulgence than true compassion. The Bible verse from Galatians 6:7 came to mind, "Do not be deceived, God is not mocked, for whatever one sows, that will he also reap." Richard had sown the seeds of indulgence without accountability, and the community was about to reap the consequences. The community center, rather than being a place of genuine outreach and support, became a playground for Richard's ego. The funds that should have gone to the development of the neighborhood were used for extravagant parties, extravagant vacations, and personal luxuries. The people of Haven Ridge began to realize that Richard's actions were not rooted in compassion but in self-aggrandizement. As the years went by, the neighborhood surrounding the community center deteriorated further, with crumbling infrastructure and rising crime rates. The very community that the center was meant to uplift was now feeling the weight of Richard's indulgence without accountability. Among the residents affected by the neglect of their neighborhood was a young woman named Sarah. She lived in a modest apartment building near the community center, and her daily life was marked by the challenges of a deteriorating environment. Her faith remained a source of strength, and she often turned to the Bible for guidance. She found solace in the words of Proverbs 31:8-9, "Speak up for those who cannot speak for themselves, for the rights of all who are destitute. Speak up and judge fairly, defend the rights of the poor and needy." One evening, as Sarah was returning from her job at a local soup kitchen, she saw the sad state of her neighborhood illuminated by the glaring lights of the extravagant parties being held at the community center. Her heart ached for her community, and she knew that something had to change. Inspired by her faith and the teachings of the Bible, Sarah began to gather like-minded neighbors who were determined to hold Richard accountable for the funds meant to improve their community. They formed a grassroots movement called Haven Ridge United and began attending city council meetings to shed light on Richard's self-indulgence and the detrimental effects it had on their neighborhood. Despite Richard's wealth and influence, he couldn't escape the persistent voices of those he had wronged. The community's outcry reached the ears of the city's officials, and an investigation was launched into the misappropriation of funds meant for the community center. During this time, the parable of the rich man and Lazarus from the Bible weighed heavily on Sarah's heart. She remembered how the rich man had ignored the suffering of Lazarus, and it had cost him dearly. Sarah realized that the lack of accountability for Richard's actions had allowed their community to suffer similarly. The investigation revealed the extent of Richard's mismanagement and greed, and the consequences were severe. He was held accountable for his actions, facing both legal repercussions and public disgrace. The funds he had misused were redirected towards genuine community development, breathing new life into Haven Ridge. As the neighborhood began to recover, the community center was transformed into a hub for education, job training, and support for those in need. It became a true symbol of compassion and accountability, embodying the teachings of the Bible. The people of Haven Ridge finally reaped what they had sown through their persistent pursuit of justice. The parable of the Good Samaritan served as a poignant reminder for the community. They realized that true compassion required action, not just empty gestures. Sarah and her neighbors had shown the importance of speaking up for those who couldn't, advocating for justice, and holding the powerful accountable for their actions. As the neighborhood flourished once again, the verse from James 2:15-16 resonated with Sarah and her fellow advocates. "If a brother or sister is poorly clothed and lacking in daily food, and one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, be warmed and filled, without giving them the things needed for the body, what good is that? The story of Haven Ridge was a testament to the consequences of indulgence without accountability and the transformative power of faith and unity. The community had learned that compassion without action could lead to self-indulgence and neglect, and it was only through accountability and collective effort that they could rebuild their neighborhood and follow the true path of Christian compassion. Richard's fall from grace served as a reminder that even the most powerful could be held accountable for their actions. The people of Haven Ridge continued to work together to ensure that their community thrived, guided by the belief that compassion rooted in accountability was the key to true positive change.